The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Dynamics GP Accounts Payable Ask the Experts webinar. My name is Brandon Cook and I'll be doing just a brief introduction for Kara before we start the webinar. So as you can see, we're using GoToWebinar today. If you'd like to ask a question during the webinar, you feel free to drop those into the question panel on the right side of your screen. We do try to make these webinars as interactive as possible. So if you feel like dropping a question at any point in the webinar, feel free and we'll get to that as quick as we can. This webinar is going to be more brief than our typical webinars, so it'll open up more time for Q&A. So we'll have some time at the end for questions, and if you have anything during regarding accounts payable, feel free to drop that in there. This webinar will also be recorded and posted to the training section of the Ningevity website. This particular webinar will be posted later this week, and if you would like that emailed to you with the link, you can contact me at bcook@ningevity.com. That's BCOOK@ningevity.com, and I can go ahead and send you the link, or it'll be posted if you want to check back around Friday. Those should be up there. So I'll go ahead and read our Ningevity mission statement here real fast. Our mission statement is very important to us here at Ningevity and is the foundation of what we do here. So our mission is to improve the life and success of our partners and customers by providing exceptional business application experiences that simplify, inform, and delight. And with that, I will hand it over to our presenter for today, Kara Case.
Thanks, Brandon, and welcome. Thank you all for being here on this happy Wednesday. So I'm going to start. The purpose of these webinars was basically to get more customer and partners to be able to ask questions or things that you want to see that you've had questions about. So I'm going to start by just showing you something simple and quick here that I had a customer ask for last week. The question, the request was, is there a way to pull a trial balance for just one vendor quickly instead of having to go to reports and put in all the information? And so I said, absolutely. Here on the navigation list, if you just go to vendors, you can click any vendor that you want, one vendor, two vendors, however many, and then under reports, we can print a historical trial balance. And you can put in your dates. Everything's just the same as if you were doing it from the actual report menu. So that's kind of a nice little feature to be able to just, if you need to do a quick look at a vendor or something, it's nice to be able to just go there and pull a quick report. I find that there's a lot of things in these navigation lists that people just aren't aware of or they don't use very often. You can also, if you needed to, say you're setting up email, you could select all of your vendors from here. And from here, you could update the email settings for everybody. You could change the message or whatever it might be. And that way you wouldn't have to go in and do it one by one. Let's see, what else can we go over? What other questions have we had? Another one that stands out for me is changing the number on the payables. Sometimes you'll get stuck where it needs to. Oh, and I clicked in the wrong screen here. Oh, up here. Sometimes you'll get an error message about a voucher number or something, and the place to change that is just under Setup Payables. If you go to Options, and from there you can change the voucher number or payment number, whatever may be giving you an issue. It doesn't happen very often, but it's nice to know where it is in case you need it. And I'm going to turn it to you guys and see anybody have any questions, anything that we can talk about.
Looks like we're good right now, Kara.
Okay. Well, let me think of what else. We'll go over here. Another thing I hear a lot of is how to void or how to unapply a partially applied payment. You unfortunately in payables you can't unapply the documents, and I know that there's a third party out there I think that's coming out with something that you might be able to do that in the future. So if you have a credit memo that you've applied to the wrong invoice or something, the only way to correct that would be to void the credit memo and reissue it. The thing with that, you just want to be careful to make sure that your posting dates and the dates of your transactions match what it was previously. Something else I came across the other day also was a year-end closing. Somebody closed their fiscal year and needed to reverse it. Oh, that's in financial module. I'm on the wrong track here. Let me. The Vendor Combiner and Modifier. This is a nice tool if you need to make changes or you have duplicate vendors that you need to merge. When you use this tool, it does move everything, the history and everything to the new, to just one vendor instead of having two.
Okay, Kara, so it looks like we have a question here.
Okay.
So the one I'm looking at here is for the reports. I presume these can be unlocked by our system admin. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I also have another one here. This one says, I think this is something we could discuss here, but I would love to see more on intercompany and how that works. How does it get expensed to the other company?
Okay. Intercompany transactions usually are set up in the financial module. And when you're entering a transaction, let me just pull up a transaction here. There's this little intercompany box. So you would check that you have an intercompany transaction. And then once you have all your due to and due from accounts set up, as long as this box is checked, when you go into your distributions, and I don't have intercompany set up, just in the Stabacam test company, when you go into your distributions, you would see both companies there. One key thing to remember, and right now with out-of-the-box GP, there is no way to automatically post the transactions into the other company. So if you did this intercompany transaction, and here, well, it's telling me I can't do that because I don't have it set up, but you would be able to see it here, your distributions. But once these transactions are posted, you have to go into the other company and post the GL batch. That doesn't automatically post, even if you have things set to post all the way through. Which brings me to another thing here. When you're doing transactions, anything that you can put in a batch is always best practice and recommended, and not to post from the transaction level. And the reason I say that is if your posting is set up to post all the way through the general ledger, and you post a transaction that is not in a batch, it automatically stops. So there will be a GL batch that will have to be posted. And I've seen in the past that it caused a lot of confusion because they see in the subledger everything looks fine, and then when you pull your trial balance, everything's out of whack, or try to do a bank reconciliation, the transactions aren't there. So just something to keep in mind. Anything you do that you can't enter a batch in these subledgers, you want to make sure to double check and make sure the GL batches get posted. On the intercompany question, if whoever asked the question, if you'd like to set up some time, we can go through how that's set up in the financial module and take a look at that a little bit more in depth at a later date if you'd like.
So it looks like we have a follow-up to that. Looks like the question is, where was the vendor modifier?
Oh, the vendor modifier, right here under utilities. Vendor Combiner and Modifier. Now, I believe this came out in version, I think this is 2018. I'm not sure if it was 2016 or not, was in 2016 or not. Another thing that I had recently in the build payment batch, when you enter a batch to do your checks, this checkbook is going to be the one that it's going to default from, no matter what is on the vendor card. So if you know you have vendor 123 set up for a default checkbook of Uptown Trust, but another vendor, whatever checkbook is here, is going to be what this batch is going to be created from. So if you use more than one checkbook, that's something you'll want to watch for. When you do manual payments, this checkbook ID here pulls directly from the vendor card. So if there's a default checkbook on the vendor card, that's what will go in here. And I guess that would be the default checkbook here too. So that's for manual payments. Any more questions on that?
Looks like we got one more. So how do you correct vendors and invoices to be included or excluded from 1099 amounts?
So, well, you'll make sure on your setup, just bring up a vendor here. Make sure that the type is here, not a 1099 vendor. And then over, let's see, where's your, oh, here, right over here. Update 1099 information under utilities. Let's see, oh, nope, that's not where you can change it. Give me 1 second. Edit, it's under transactions and edit 1099 transaction information. So if you have something that you've entered by accident, you can pull up the vendor and you can, I don't know if any of these customers have it set up. Yep, then you could modify it from here. I'm sure a lot of you have used this customer vendor before, especially if you're doing refund checks or anything, but that's kind of nice so that you don't have to create, you know, a customer and then you create a vendor and have to do all the stuff through the back door, the debit memos and what goes where and here and there. As long as you have the customer and vendor relationship, when you do a refund check, it'll automatically hit the correct vendor out of accounts receivable. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to go back to the navigation list for just a little bit too, because there's a lot of things that you can do from here. I know back when I was a user, I wasn't familiar with the navigation list, so I feel like I spent a lot of time doing things manually that I probably could have done real quickly here. For example, if you just want to issue a payment for a vendor, you can do it right from there. It goes right in. You put it in your batch. Of course, that's just a manual payment batch, but if you were just doing a few, you could do that. You could create a purchase order, an invoice. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that if you're not familiar with that. It's nice just to have the one-click options to do things in here. And you can pull, I mean, there's all different your payable transactions. You can do a return from here. Quiet group today. Do we have any other questions?
Doesn't look like it at the moment.
Okay. I'll just kind of go through here and see if I can.
Sorry, we do have one.
Oh,
so this question is, which trial balance report do you recommend?
I recommend using, let me just open it up here, the historical age trial balance. I found with this one, and I'm not sure of the reasoning behind it, but the one with options is not always correct. So I would recommend the historical age trial balance, and you can do that in summary or detail. And that is also one that can be printed from here. If you'll notice from the navigation list, when I go to print here, my only choice is either the age trial balance or the historical age trial balance. I don't know if anyone's ever used the all-in-one view if you're running 2018, but this is nice, and I think it's available in the previous versions also, but this is also nice to be able to get a quick view of what you've got for a certain vendor. You can also pull up a report list here. It's a little bit more convenient. Oh, no, we just got my business analyzer turned on. So that was not a good one to click on. But this will give you the list of all reports for the purchasing module. Which I have found to be helpful because sometimes it gets confusing when you're trying to pull a report and you're just not sure from the home page where you need to go for it. So that list will give you basically everything that is here under reports. Any more questions?
Yes, it looks like there is another one. So I got how come if I create a manual payment not using a batch, Why does it not show in the GL? My posting is set to post all the way through.
Okay, that's a good question. That is because when you do a manual payment, anything that's doesn't have a batch won't post all the way through to the GL. And there's unfortunately right now no setting that you can turn on to make sure that happens. So best practice is when you're posting like that, always use a batch. Or there is a setup option in posting that you can select to not allow transaction level posting. And a lot of people will do that because then that way it saves a lot of issues if you have somebody that's posting at the transaction level. So I'll just do payment entry. So this mine is not set up to post all the way through, and it's saying, yeah, that's not. Oh, maybe it's not in that one. Oh, right here, allow transaction level posting. So if that's marked, then anyone can post from the transaction level. If that's not marked, anywhere that you could put a batch, it will require you to have a batch, even if it's just one transaction. And like I said, that's best practice anyway. That will save you a lot from stuck batches and stuff. We find that a lot of people just posting one entry at a time, they have more issues with the transactions getting stuck than if you were to use a batch.
So it looks like we have an informational kind of, I guess not a question, but an FYI, I guess in a GP 2018 R2, there's a new setting that will allow you to, that's what closes, setting allow you to post transaction level posting through the GL.
Oh, good to know. I did not know that. I will look into that. That is very good to know. Oh, whoops. Check that out. All right, very cool. Is there any other questions or anything else? I think we're coming up on 11:30.
Doesn't look like it right now, unless you have anything else.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yes, yeah, Kara.
So, Brennan,
Oh, sorry. So it doesn't look like we have anything else right now. I don't know if you feel like wrapping it up here, or if you want to give people another few minutes.
we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but I do have one thing. Would you just make a note about the question on the posting thing so that I can take a look at that and get that fixed for the customer we had that was having
Absolutely.
the issue with it not posting? Okay.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I guess that'll wrap up today's webinar. You can feel free to email us if you have anything extra, or if you have anything that comes up afterwards that's regarding accounts payable. If not, this webinar will be posted again on the website, and we have an accounts receivable coming up next month as well. So really appreciate you guys jumping on with us here and supporting the webinars, and we'll be back again next month with accounts receivable. Thanks so much, guys.